What's up, ladies and gentlemen of Retropalooza, Boogie to 988, actually coming to you live through the power of this microphone.
I'm a little bit nervous right now.
So for those of you who don't know me, I make YouTube videos for a living. I cover a variety of topics. Probably my biggest focus has been on gaming. I like to play games and I like to do video game captures and stuff like that, just like any other YouTuber, but I primarily focus on gamers' rights as a consumer, gamers' rights to not be made fun of or crucified by the media, that kind of thing. I really kind of try to focus on the fact that we are just people like to play video games. We're normal people, we're happy people, and we're generally pretty good people. I've also made a few enemies when I put my foot down at the guys, in front of the guys at Xbox, for example. I think we remember that. I like to fight for consumer rights because the most important thing to me is to remind ourselves that this is a hobby for us, but it's an important hobby. It's one that needs to remain cost effective. A lot of us like to make sure we're saving a little bit of money while we're playing our games, make sure we're not getting conned and ripped off, buying a bad product. And I try to focus people towards good products and away from bad products, while at the same time trying to make people laugh. And it's an interesting field. It's been a lot of fun. I met a lot of fantastic people in the gaming industry. I met some of my favorite game developers, some of the people behind Xbox, behind PlayStation, behind PC gaming, and I owe all of that to you guys. I mean, everybody in this room, I will literally, if you want, I will line you up and thank you individually because you guys have made my life go from pretty mediocre to something absolutely fantastic. And I love every single person. So I don't want this to be about me. I want this to be about you. And I just wanted to basically answer your questions today. I have absolutely nothing prepared. Whatever you got to throw me, please be nice. But that's my only request. I love it if you guys would raise hands, and I'll take whatever questions you got, and we'll go over there. We'll start with you.
I guess with the rise of swatting and things like that going on right now, would you recommend somebody who's been thinking about starting a Twitch stream or something like that, a Hearthstone, would you recommend doing that? Do you think it's a wise choice? Do you think swatting's a fad that's going to go away soon, or is it something more serious?
I was reading on Reddit just before I came down out of the hotel about psychological profiles of people who troll on the internet. And it's just exactly what we've always feared. The people who do that kind of thing are psychopaths, they are crazy, they are deranged, they are self-centered, they're narcissistic. They tend to be some of the worst people. And one of the things about the human race is that we are primarily very, very good. And that I would wager that every person in this room are very good-hearted, kind-natured, wonderful people. And there's probably maybe one asshole. I don't know which one it is. It might just be me. Why would you deny, if there's 100 people in this room, why would you deny 90 of them, or 99 of them, what you have to offer because of that one asshole? There are always going to be people out there who are going to try to put their foot down on top of you. There are always going to be people out there who are going to try to use you as an opportunity to get some lulz. And don't let them scare you away. Never let them scare you away. If they let me scare me away, I wouldn't have achieved anything. And I will promise you that every day, one of my job descriptions could be endures the torture of assholes. And that would actually be an accurate job description. But I don't care because I get to meet so many incredible people. So really what you have to ask yourself, knowing that swatting is just another manifestation of people being broken. And just the fact that the human race is not perfect. Ask yourself, write a pros and cons list. What will it benefit me and what will it cost me? And you know, if the worst thing that ever happens to me is the cops show up at my front door and they say, is everything all right in here? Yes, everything's all right in here, officer. It's a pleasure meeting you. Oh, aren't you that Boogie guy? That's the worst thing that ever happens to me, but I get to meet and shake all of your hands, worth every second. So yes, do it. But more importantly, you get to join a very important chorus of people that say what you're doing, swatting or leaving negative YouTube comments or Twitter trolling, is ultimately meaningless. It's not going to stop any of us from being awesome.
What are your thoughts for the updates that they're going to be doing for Destiny?
I've really enjoyed Destiny so far. Who here has played Destiny? I like to. All right, now how many people like to hate it because it's fashionable to do so? And how many people genuinely hate it?
Yeah.
All right, okay. I think it's a good start to a game. And somebody at Bungie said, do not judge this game based on the first 20 hours. It becomes a completely different game in 20 hours, and it becomes a completely different game further down the road. As someone who prides himself in consumer advocacy, that's worrisome for me. But I do believe in Bungie, and I do believe in the developers there. I think the first 2 expansions will bring a lot of content, and I think it's going to be a really good game 6 months down the road. Something weird happened, and I kind of live in a different shell than you guys do a little bit, and I talk about this stuff in different ways. So if I don't make sense here, I apologize. The reviews for Destiny were spot on, and I think the Metacritic score is about 76. And the reason they were spot on is because for the first time in a really long time, it appears that the people that are reviewing our games grew a set of testicles, I guess, right? They actually critique the game based on the criteria that we should be critiquing games. So Destiny's got a lot of low scores, not because it's worse than the other games that are available for this generation of consoles, but because the critics finally decided to start being critical. And I would really like to see that continue. But otherwise, it's still a good game. If you have a PS4, if you have an Xbox One, you should definitely buy it. If you have one of the older systems, it's a lot of fun. Are you enjoying it?
I am.
Awesome, awesome. Who's next? Right here.
Okay, oh gosh.
I'll give you it. You think about it. I'll start with you then, right here. The man with a fashionable haircut, yes.
Do you feel that the hype train behind Destiny was detrimental? Because as an MMO that is a shooter MMO, that's the only one that works. If you look for shooter MMOs, there's not a lot that feel like an MMO and they work. That one does. And it was just broadcast to everyone like, you're all gonna love this. Every single person's gonna love this. And I feel like if they hadn't have done that, you wouldn't see 7.8 more, because you wouldn't be having to tell people, like, they gave money to everybody. There wasn't a single person who felt like, well, they backed us, we have to give them.
Absolutely. I played a little indie game called Game Dev Tycoon. Anybody played this game? All right. If you played Game Dev Tycoon, you will learn a lot about the gaming industry. I learned a lot about it, and it was interesting to see a lot of it in there. But one of the things that they warn you about in Game Dev Tycoon is overhyping your game, and how that will ultimately affect the review scores of your game if people are expecting too much of it. Destiny in a vacuum is a very good game, but we don't live in a vacuum and we can't rate it that way. We have to rate it for the year and a half that we were bombarded with the perfect game, 11 out of 10, IGN, you know, before the game is even out. And hype is something that is definitely a dual-edged sword. More people bought the game, but more people were disappointed by the game than had it existed the other way. Me and a friend were joking on Skype the other night that they spent, I believe the figures, $500 million on Destiny. Is that right?
It was the most ever since, I think, Halo 3.
Well,
which is again Bungie.
I'm willing to bet that $400 million of it was on marketing. Because the game doesn't do anything that particularly unique. You didn't have to pay anybody. It took.
They spent a lot on voice actors.
Right. What? I don't know why Peter Dinklage was so bored that day. But I really wish he'd been more into it. But I mean, it's a mix of Halo and it's a mix of Borderlands, but really not to just sit here and tear apart Destiny, which is, I mean, that's been done to death. What it really comes down to is a symptom of the gaming industry right now and the way that it works. We've got this hype train that's so easy to build, and I'm part of the problem too, because I was super excited for Destiny after getting to play the alpha. I did not say a positive thing about it until I sat down and played it for the first time, and then when I played it, I'm like, wow, this is actually pretty fun. But we have this scenario where we build all of this incredible hype into a game, and then ultimately we gamers end up disappointed. And we're specifically disappointed in Destiny in that it's not a complete game the way it should. We've got an expansion, we have 2 expansions to buy before we get the complete game. And so we're looking at spending $100 on a game that we're still only getting a taste of. That's a game as a service. That's a phrase that EA likes to use. Games as a service. We don't ship a game for you to play. We ship you the entry level of the game so that you'll continue to play. It's a dangerous, dangerous game that they're playing. It's one that, I mean, we're at a RetroCon right now. We all know what it's like to buy a complete game on a cartridge, and it feels really good, and that's what we miss, and that's what we want to do. That's the exact kind of stuff that I'm very, very angry about. It's the stuff that I pull Francis out on. It's the stuff that it's the stuff that I'm emailing the likes of Major Nelson every day about. This is the stuff we've got to be careful with stuff. But ultimately, okay, all right, so I rambled a lot right there. Long story short, hype is very, very, very dangerous, and it costs consumers a lot of money when we buy a bad product. Aliens, anybody buy Cutie Pox? Right, we have to be very careful. So one of the things I always like to remind people of is this. Critical thinking is the most important human trait. The ability to think for yourselves, the ability to determine what is right for you and what's not for you. You've got to stop listening to even people like me and determine what's right for yourself. And that means watch your pre-orders. Don't buy a game on faith. Wait until it's shipped. Wait until the reviews are in. Wait till your favorite YouTuber's done a Let's Play of it. Wait until you get an opportunity to make a judgment on yourself. It's not going to kill you to wait 3 days. So don't believe the hype. Ever. Don't believe the hype. How about you, sir?
Oh, it's still hard for me to ask. But okay, I'll give one of the questions on my mind. Have you been excited, or at least looking forward to any of the games like Middle Earth: Shadow of Mordor?
Oh yeah, actually, I just tapped into that game a little bit. I arranged for, I don't know if you guys know how YouTube works, but with the copyright system, I'm independent, and anytime I ever want to do gameplay on my channel, I have to get it written express permission, because I don't work with a multi-channel network as an independent. I have to get written personal expression from the people who developed the game to have permission to upload gameplay. So I have to go through a bunch of hoops to get there, but I just got through some hoops to get an advanced copy of Shadows of Mordor. I'll be able to tell you whether or not it's any good beforehand. I can't wait to play that game. It's a sleeper. I don't know why people are not talking about it.
Yeah, I know. It looks like the most game, and I'm a big fan of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings.
You know what really got me into it, and I don't know if anybody else ever watches it, Corridor Digital, you guys familiar with that YouTube channel? They did a live action version of Shadows of Mordor, and it was one of the best things ever on YouTube. Those guys do incredible work, and I would absolutely love to collab with those guys. Call me! Who's next? Anybody? Right there.
Is the reason why you have to get those special rights to play games? Is that the reason why you don't like to do maybe Let's Play?
That's part of it. That I think I really connect with my audience a little. Let's Plays are a very saturated field, and I'm not very good at video games. I'm the guy, I went through a lot of NES controllers when someone set Super Mario down in front of me for the first time. Because I didn't know about warp pipes or any of that stuff. Nobody was telling me. I didn't subscribe to Nintendo Power when I was a very angry child. In fact, the very first time I ever swore, and which I've made up for lost time, the very first time I ever swore was while playing the original Super Mario. But whoa, God, I'm so lost in memory lane. I forgot your question. But yes, it's a very saturated field, and I don't feel that I have much of a voice to add to it. I think that it's not a very saturated field when it comes to consumer rights and when it comes to defending us. You know, like right now, there's, I don't know, we don't really talk about it, but there's always a finger pointed at us for one reason or another, whether it's video games or violence. And most YouTubers, when that happens, they don't want to get involved. I want to get involved. That's the whole thing. That's my thing. And whether it's screaming at them with a leash, so that they don't have to take me so seriously, or whether it's just begging for people to take us seriously, as myself. That's the field I'm in.
Did Francis ever break any controllers while playing Super Meat Boy?
I hate Super Meat Boy with a passion. I love that game. I love Ed. I love Binding of Isaac. It's in my top 5 games of all time. We just played Binding of Isaac. Okay, the Rebirth is coming, and it's going to be terrifying, and I can't wait to play the game. You will play the Rebirth. I think it's coming to 3DS.
It's supposed to be.
It better come to 3DS.
Best game added ever.
Yeah. Yeah, Super Meat Boy, man, I wanted to punch Ed in the face for making that game. Why? Is that my wife? I broke the controller. Not even Francis. I don't even have to be Francis. I don't know if you guys have ever watched any of my streams. Anybody watching any of my Twitch streams? I know they're very late at night. You'll know that I do genuinely get angry while playing video games. It is not a character, people. It's just the fact that it's the only way I can ever let out demons inside me. Somebody over here. I haven't done this yet. Right here.
Have you thought about becoming a host on Painkiller already?
Yeah, actually, I talked to Woody about it, and I really like the show, and I really like what they do over there. They film on a really bad night for me because I am a Magic the Gathering player. Anybody else? Why are you not in the pre-release right now? What is wrong with you people? No, but it's Friday Night Magic. I haven't missed a Friday Night Magic if I can help it, and to schedule away all the rest of my Fridays. Now, if they start filming on Thursday, Woody, I'll say yes. Right there.
First of all, we love you too, Boogie.
Thank you.
And I've always been a big fan of your channel. One of the questions I wanted to ask you was, I'm a huge fan of your Twitch streams, and where do you see that going for you in the potential future? Do you have any plans for utilizing that medium more?
Well, right now, I don't know, if you watch a lot of Twitch, you'll know that there's several mindsets of the people that do it. There are people that do it for a living, and so they have to focus a lot on the number of subscribers they have. They have to focus a lot on the amount of donations they get because this is their livelihood. Fortunately for me, YouTube has become my livelihood. So Twitch is something I do just to hang out with you guys. And I'm always hoping that's that for me because that's all I really ever want to do. I want to get on Twitch, and when I was a kid and I played NES, I didn't have a lot of friends, and I used to get, we're talking 1982 and the hills of southwestern Virginia. If you didn't hunt your own food, you weren't a real man, you know. And I can't believe that little kid's over there playing them video games, and he should be learning how to gun a squirrel. So I didn't have a lot of people to play games with. And now Twitch gives me the ability to play video games with about 4,000 of you at a time. That is awesome. Especially like when I believe you mentioned that sim stream earlier. That sim stream was one of the best times. Well, I had 5,000 people on the channel telling me what story to tell, and that was the best feeling in the world. If I tell that to the little 8-year-old version of me sitting in front of his NES, if this is what you'd be doing one day, I wouldn't have believed it because it's the best thing in the world. Let's see, who else? But short answer to your question, I plan to stream as much as humanly possible, but hopefully it'll never be a career. Hopefully I'll never be Casey Tron. They're in a tight-fitting shirt, trying to get donations. Right there. Who's there?
There's sort of a general consensus right now that gaming is kind of in a negative slump. What with games coming out not being complete games, having to sell expansions later on or downloadable content on day one and so on. What are your opinions on that, and how would you personally think that we could fix that?
I made a video earlier this week called The Second Big Gaming Crash. And in that video, I said that I felt that we are in danger of that happening again. And I meant what I said. I do think there's a change. That will never be what happened in the 1980s. Consumers will never completely lose the desire to play games. And we're always going to play the best thing that they have to offer us. The problem is with the best thing they have to offer us is declining in quality very rapidly. And it's a very frustrating situation. They're trying, on this side of it, when you are on the business side of it and you're talking to people in the industry, you hear terms like monetizing, how to best monetize your game. Put it in a box and sell it to me. That's how you monetize it. Well, no, we need to look to forward-thinking revenue streams like microtransactions and new skins and DLC, because the $6 we're getting up front is no longer enough. We need to make 100 to 200 because we're creating blockbuster games that cost 200 to 300 million to build. And that's unsustainable. And the way that we fix that is very, very simple. And it all goes back to the entire point of this panel, the entire point of my YouTube channel, the entire point of everything. Think critically. Vote with your wallet, because that's something they'll never tell you. You have all of the power You and I shape the gaming industry, not independent developers, not AAA developers, not the journalists who published articles about it. You and I, everybody in this room shapes the gaming industry. And when they ship a half-assed product and we buy it, we tell them that's okay. When they ship Sims 4 without toddlers or pools in it, and we buy Sims 4, which I really enjoy the hell out of, but it's strikingly worse than Sims 3, we are telling them this is okay. Continue to do that. When they simply add a new roster to FIFA, when they cut half the features out of NHL and we buy it, we tell them that's okay. We'll stomach that. So the way that we keep a big crash from coming, the way that we tell them that we're not going to buy this crap anymore is by not buying this crap anymore. And when we do that, they'll listen.
Doesn't that lead to the crash though again? If you stop buying the game?
Well, not if you choose to still spend, but spend on really good games. And I think that's one of the biggest ways that journalists right now and YouTube pundits and everybody involved is failing us. There are some out there who do a wonderful job of it. Hi, Tony Biscuit. There's some of us that do a really good job of steering us through the crap and into the good games. And as long as we're investing our dollars in the good games and we're avoiding buying garbage, you know, like the biggest sleeper hit. The biggest sleeper, it has microtransactions in it, they didn't add until 3 months later. Biggest sleeper hit of this entire console generation. Does anybody know what it is? In my opinion, if you know me, you may know. Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare. It's one of the best games I've ever played. It's a $40 budget title right off the front. I think it's down to 30 bucks in a lot of Walmarts. I think you often get it for even cheaper. It's on every console. It's now on PC. One of the best games of the generation. When people buy games that are that good and that stylized and that beautiful, and they walk away from games like, don't offend anybody in here, but Call of Duty, which has been a rehashing of the same game over and over again. So somebody back in the back had his hand up this whole time.
I just want to kind of piggyback off what you're saying and push that even more. Because the problem that I have seen is you got a game that has microtransactions that it's exclusively for mobile platforms. And that's like, I'm going to use Sega as an example because they're the biggest offender, in my opinion, right now, aside from EA. But I think Sega has fallen the worst. I think EA was already kind of in it for the money. But Sega will have a game that they'll even leave the $2.99 version on the store, giving you an option to buy that version, and then release a new and improved version that is free. And so I hear you saying, vote with your wallet, and I think the problem is that people are voting with their wallet and getting the free things. That the free things are the ones that are actually pummeling, like just destroying the ones that are actually wanting to sell games.
Well, one of the things that I'm actively doing is trying to inform people. A lot of the times I'll make a video talking about microtransactions, and people who are new to gaming, who are really only come into the last 2 generations, will say, "What are those?" And they don't really fully understand that this isn't how games have always been.
Right.
So one of the biggest obstacles that we're facing right now is educating new gamers who are just young or have never been interested in games until they found out they were on their iPhone, that this is not how games have to be. Now, it does feel a little bit hypocritical because I used to pay 25 cents to play a game of Street Fighter every time I played it. So it's, there's a certain level of freemium that should be allowed, and there's a certain level of microtransactions that should be allowed. I don't think what happened to the Forza franchise is acceptable. I don't think, but then I feel what happened to Garden Warfare is acceptable. It's very difficult to try to be completely stoic on this topic because the industry has to be profitable. The industry has to make money, and they have to do it while investing hundreds of millions of dollars in the game. We just want to always make sure it's fair. But when it comes to what you're saying, every time I look at what Sega has become, a part of me dies inside. I just want to be very clear. I made a video in which I made fun of Sonic the other day, and I'm not making fun of Sonic circa 1990. I'm making fun of circa 2014, and it is a joke what they're doing with the franchise. It's super frustrating. But I'm hoping we'll eventually see legislation passed in the United States the way it has in other countries that will no longer allow the iStore to call games free when they're clearly not.
Right. Yeah.
I'm really hoping that we can work towards that. But who here plays Clash of Clans? Right, it's a good game. That game could not exist were the freemium model not a viable option. And it is an interesting game. I won't play it because I feel it's slanted a little bit too much in that direction. If you're unfamiliar with someone by the name of Jim Sterling, he talks about this a lot better than I do. He works for The Escapist. You really should look up his work. He'll talk, and I really hope you specifically look him up. He coined the phrase "free to wait." The Candy Crush function of, look, either you can pay now, or you can wait till all your Facebook friends do it, or you can wait till this timer clicks down. We were in the hotel playing a new King game. I forget which one it's called. It's pushing water through tunnels. Anybody seen this game? It's a really good game. We finished a chapter. Would you like to wait 24 hours to get to the next chapter? No, I'd like to play the game. Asshole. Matt Pat of the Game Theorists. Anybody here know the Game Theorists? Right here. One of my favorite YouTubers. He actually did a video recently on the psychology of freemium games. It will open your eyes. It will blow your mind. Please go watch that when we're done here. I think you'd like it. All right, who's next? We have done in the back over here. How about the blue shirt right there?
What you've talked about in one of your videos is that gamers have come under a lot of negativity lately in the past month.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering if you could refresh us on that and also tell us how we as a gaming community can help reverse that negativity.
Absolutely. Without speaking in too many specifics, because I've gotten in trouble for speaking in too many specifics, I will say that right now, gamers are under fire for a lot of the negative things that happen. If you've ever played a game of League of Legends, or if you ever played a game of Dota, you probably know what I'm talking about. If you ever logged into your Xbox 360 and played a game of Call of Duty, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's a group of gamers that are not very good people, and we all have met these people. But more importantly than them, because there's nothing you can ever do to make, and excuse my language for the kids in this room, there's nothing you can do to make someone who's an asshole stop being an asshole. He's probably going to die an asshole, and we're just going to have to learn to deal with that. There is a group of us, and I'm one of the worst offenders of this, who will say and do things in a joking manner. We'll use certain words that we need to be very careful using. We will tend to harmlessly troll online and do things along that lines in a game of League of Legends or whatever. It's time for us to stop doing that. Because there are a lot of people who are scrutinizing us as a gamer, as someone who likes this hobby, as someone who represents this hobby. And when we use these phrases jokingly, it can be very easily misconstrued. Unfortunately, with that scrutiny comes a higher level of responsibility, right? So what's the phrase from Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. Right now, we have the ability to play games with anybody in the world at any time, and we can do so anonymously. But with that comes a responsibility of trying to represent gaming and gamers to the best of our ability. And if they're going to point it, when I was a kid, I played Dungeons and Dragons. And a lot of you in this room are not going to remember what this was like. But the media told us that we were Satan worshipers.
Mazes and Monsters. You remember Mazes and Monsters?
Right, exactly, right. And they made movies about this, and they talked about how if you played Dungeons and Dragons, you were a member of the occult, and you were inviting Satan into your heart, and all kinds of crazy business.
And Tom Hanks will stab a homeless man.
Right, right. And yeah, it all stemmed from a handful of people, small group of people who did some crazy stuff. And then just a few years ago, we have Jack Thompson. I don't even like to bring his name up anymore because he's almost completely forgotten. But we had him and other people saying, gamers are violent because we play violent games. Man, I've been smashing turtles with Mario since I was a kid. I've never heard a turtle. I like turtles, dude. Okay? If video games influenced the person I was going to be, I would be a really good chef because I love cooking mama, okay? Just saying. So now they're pointing to the worst of us and saying we're all like that. And the way that we drown that out is by being the best versions of ourselves we can be. Be inclusive, be kind to your fellow gamers, say GG, as simply, if you're one of the people that just don't talk into the microphone very often, get a mic, say good game, say great shot, just be awesome, be awesome, be awesome. In all things you do, be kind, be generous, and be awesome, especially as a gamer and gamer. See, I see one all the way in the back here.
All right, so it's a lighter question. Since we're at a retro gaming convention,
Awesome.
what is your favorite retro game and what is Francis' favorite retro game?
Oh, man. Okay. It depends on how retro we're going. Probably my favorite game of the NES era is easily the original Legend of Zelda. And it's tied with the original Final Fantasy. And if you want to take a step back further than that, my favorite Atari 2600 game was Adventure.
Adventure?
And these games showed me what games could be. And man, they just blew my mind. And when Final Fantasy VII finally dropped, it ruined my life because now I've judged every game by it. And I'm not one of those people that romanticizes that game. I know it has its faults, and it doesn't stand up very well, unfortunately. But at the time, that was the quintessential everything I had been dreaming for, and nothing is really compared since. Francis's favorite, I would imagine, would be an NES title called Solomon's Key. And if you have played this game, you will know why, because I don't think Gandhi could play that game without slapping someone. Why is that game like that? What were they thinking? I want to meet the developer of that game and choke him. We spent an entire weekend. I went to stay with a friend in college. And he goes, you play this game called Solomon's Key from the NES? And like, I rented it once and I threw it in a river and had to pay for it. And he goes, well, we have it and we've been trying to beat it for 3 months. So we spent, there are parts of that game, why is this? There are parts of that game that you have to die in order to get through the level. There are parts of that game where you have to go back a few levels to go forward. Why is that game? Oh my God, I want to choke somebody. Why is that game like that? Those such a bitch. Right here.
What is your opinion on Shovel Knight, and how is it set? And do you think it has set a precedent to take what people are expecting and give them even more than what they are?
I have not played Shovel Knight.
I share that feeling.
I bought it and I downloaded it and I haven't had time to start it. But from my understanding, from my expectations of what they've done with that game, my expectations going into it, it is without doubt one of the best games of this generation, in that it's everything that a retro style game should be. Am I right? Am I wrong? Who's played it? Is it as good as I've been told? I will start it tonight. No, I won't, because I have a Smash demo on my phone.
Yes. Start it now.
So, okay. All right. We're just going to do that for a little while. Okay, sorry. Well, I'll come back to you, I promise. How about you? Yep, right there. Black shirt. Iron Maiden? Is that Iron Maiden?
Yeah.
Awesome.
What are your thoughts on Kickstarter and other websites like Indiegogo, well-funded games that this go under?
I'm not sure. I don't think I heard the last half of that question. What's the second one?
Like well-funded games for $25,000.
It's really expensive to develop a game, and it's very time-consuming. And if you watched games like movies like Indie Game the movie, is that the right one? Is that the name of it? You get an idea of what it's actually like to be a small developing team developing one of these types of games. It's frustrating. It's difficult. It's especially frustrating when you happen to be Phil Fish. I know that's in poor taste, but that's what I do, man. Yeah, that kind of stuff can go under any time. And that's why I encourage you to be very careful with your money. Remember that Kickstarter is not a pre-purchase. Remember that Indiegogo is not a pre-purchase. You're guaranteed nothing when you put your money into that. You're an investor, and an investor loses their money all the time. So you should always be very, very careful Now, if you just happen to have some extra Christmas money left over, birthday money left over, and you believe in the project, feel free to put it into it, but know that you're likely to get burned. I think Ouya has officially taught us that lesson, and we'll always remember to be careful with our money when it comes to Kickstarters. That's why I try not to endorse them too terribly often, because I hate to be part of the thing that goes on. But then again, I've been part of some that have been absolutely phenomenal. So it's a dual-edged sword for sure. But developing a game is time. It's a time investment, it's a money investment, and a lot of things can go wrong. My biggest concern right now is when it comes to Steam. Do we have any PC gamers in here at all? Good, okay. I'm very wary, having been burnt a few times with games that are in early access. We've had some games that I'm fairly certain are just never going to get completed, and I would have said War of the Overworlds was the #1 on that list, but now we have a release date for War of the Overworlds, the spiritual successor to Dungeon Keeper, which is in my top 5 games of all time. But be careful with your money. Again, and it all comes back to the same thing. You determine how much of this is allowed. You determine how many microtransactions in the game. Vote with your wallet, think critically, be careful with your money. How about you, little bit? Yeah.
What's your opinion on Minecraft?
I love Minecraft, and in fact, when I first started playing it, which was a few years back, I got almost ridiculed by my friends because I was so obsessed with it. I was playing that game 4 or 5 hours a day, every day, and I did not want to work, and I did not want to do anything else. What do you think of Minecraft? Awesome, I love your shirt, by the way, a little favorite shirt. I worry about some of the private servers that exist out there, and I feel like they can be a little weird. But then again, I just bought it for my Xbox One, and I'm actually really enjoying the console version because it's in that little tiny vacuum. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. But yeah, it's one of my favorite games. It's absolutely fantastic. Who else? How about you?
What are your thoughts about, like, is it a good thing or a bad thing that Microsoft bought Boogie?
Well, Rare did buy Bungie at one point, and that turned out really well. Microsoft also bought Rare, and that did not turn out so well. Where is the latest Conquer game? Damn you. So, why do you spend $2.5 billion on a company that really only has one game, and that game has only made $500 million? The answer to that question is you are going to trick it out. You're going to turn it out and try to make your money back, and then some. But I think in this case, Microsoft is looking at the long term and not the short term. I don't think they're going to do anything bad to Minecraft. I think they're looking towards people like this young gentleman right here, who's going to want to play Minecraft for the next 20 years of his life. And there will be a Minecraft 2 that will be an updated version with brand new blocks and all kinds of awesome stuff, and hopefully they'll keep the same price tag. So, like all of these acquisitions, like Twitch being bought by Amazon or Microsoft buying Mojang, it's a wait and see game, but I like to be optimistic, and I'm hoping they're going to do the right thing, because if they don't, I will personally reach through the internet and choke them. One of their senior executives said that the whole reason they bought it was because they saw the potential in teaching kids science, and that makes me feel really good in my heart. Except for the cynical part of me that knows it's because of cash, because of big stacks, big fat stacks of cash, infinite wealth forever and ever, amen. Who else? How about Ray?
What's your opinion on Titanfall?
Oh, Titanfall is the perfect example of the hype machine completely derailing a game. In a vacuum, Titanfall is better than average.
Sing your song.
I came in like a Titanfall. I'll never let it hurt no one. My game got overhyped as hell. And you can put that one all on Xbox too. That was entirely their fault. They hyped that game like it was the second coming, and then it turned out just to be the second coming of Call of Duty. Which I don't know. Again, it's a better than average game until you look at that hype train, and that hype train derailed so bad. Yes, sir.
Console exclusives, good, bad, like Microsoft.
Well,
Tomb Raider.
every retro gamer in here knows that there's always been console exclusives, and there probably always will be console exclusives. And that's good. There's two ways to look at it. When you had Sega versus Nintendo, back in the day when I was growing up, you had these gaming companies that were always out to beat the other guys. And the way that I'm going to beat the other guy is I'm going to create a tiny little pink puffball that's going to appeal to a certain demographic of people, and they're going to love it. I'm going to name him Kirby, and he's going to be awesome. Well, screw Kirby. We're going to come up with this little blue guy, and he's a hedgehog, and he runs super fast. Screw you. We're going to sell. Well, Mario, suck it, nerd. But but that kind of console exclusive is awesome, because it gives you and I brand new IPs and brand new games, and it puts people to work coming up with their wildest imaginations and the best ideas that they can. The bad way to do it is just throw a bunch of money at Tomb Raider, which is an established multi-console franchise. I literally melted the ears of anyone who would listen to me when they made that decision, because why deny gamers the ability to game? Why deny gamers the ability to game? I bought a PlayStation. I like PlayStation. I want to play a multi-franchise game. Last of Us, perfect example of when console exclusive goes good. Titanfall, whereas it's not a particularly great game, is a good example of when console exclusives go good. And the other thing that's killing me is slicing new games up into tiny little shreds and then giving little tiny pieces to each console. Why? I'm sitting there holding my copy of Watch Dogs, and on a sticker on the Watch Dogs, I bought it for PlayStation 4, and I've also bought it for PC, because I wanted to be able to review the two differences. And man, that PC port sucked so bad. It made me deaf. It was that bad. Because the sound mixing on it was so bad, it made me deaf. That's not a joke. I have hearing loss because of Watch Dogs. But I'm holding my PlayStation version, and there's a sticker on the front of it that says, "The ultimate experience only on PlayStation." That is some level of trickery and BS that I can't stand. So, you could point at Microsoft and say they're the only ones doing it. Nope. PlayStation's doing it too.
Well, they wanted a successful franchise, make people come to their consoles, but they should have picked a franchise that is big. What kind of failing that they could come up with the excuse of, well, we're just going to improve it.
Right.
And a good reboot for Tomb Raider just came out. They didn't need to.
Exactly. That game was going to sell no matter what. They knew it. And it all really comes down to, if they can invest money in new developers, and new franchises, new ideas, we win. And when they deny gamers the ability to game, we lose. So stand up. When 6 months is down the road and Tomb Raider's finally dropped and it's gone multi-console, then I'll buy it. It's my job to review that game. I'm still going to wait 6 months. I'm going to try. I really like the franchise though, but I'm going to try, and I hope you guys do too.
Prepare for the one after that, Dawn of the Tomb Raider.
How about all the way over here?
Yeah, when you were talking about Kickstarts, I just have one question.
Yeah.
Like Squadron 42, Star Citizen, I just can't seem for Kickstarts. I can't seem to understand how there's nothing out there, and no one's really. It's word of mouth hype is just blowing. It just amazes me.
PC gamers, of which I am one, tend to be a very unique group of people. And so the idea of a PC-only game right now, like Star Citizen, makes them very excited, because they want to finally use that hardware they have. And the hype train built on that game is focused almost exclusively on the fact that we want there to be a really good PC exclusive that shows everybody, and I'm using their words here, that shows the console peasants what they're really missing. PC Master Race! But you're right, there's no substance there. And until I see the substance, I'm refused to get excited. Even as a guy who primarily games on PC, I'm still holding judgment. And again, that always comes back down to, and I hate to repeat myself, but I want everybody to leave this room feeling this way: critical thinking of yourself, waiting for the reviews, waiting for the Let's Plays, and holding on to your money. So, all the way in the back. I think that if EA screws that game up, I am going to go completely nuts. That's my thing. Great franchise. Looking forward to the reboot. EA has an opportunity to win us back. Man, I hope they do it. I've written them letters saying exactly that. I've made videos saying exactly that. And you should join me. Write a letter when you leave here today. When you get home, tell EA not to screw up Star Wars Battlefront. Beg them. Literally in detail. No microtransactions, no day one DLC. Ship me a complete game, and I will love you again. I will love you. Oh, forget all of the times you beat me. All the way back over here. That was you. The sunglasses in your head?
Me?
Yeah.
I didn't break my head.
Oh, I thought you did. Okay, I'm sorry. Well, how about right here at the front?
Do you have any plans for yourself or your characters that you can share, like in the future, outside of YouTube? Because you're in a commercial before. I'm
always looking for outside of YouTube opportunities, and whenever they come, I definitely take them. They're few and far between because I'm based out of Arkansas. I got a lot of collab offers for when I was at VidCon, and they're like, "Yeah, just come down to the studio next week." And I'm like, "I can't. I live in Arkansas. It sucks there." It does not suck there. It's really nice, but it's definitely not LA. I have a few things in the works, but I've signed way too many NDAs to talk about it here. But I'm hoping that eventually, my goal would be, who wouldn't want to be? I'd like to be on TV one day, man. I would like to be a household name.
We would all like to see you there.
But if we never get there, this is more than enough. This is the best. This is one of the best days of my life right here, right now. Are you kidding me? This is my dreams coming true right here, right now. You're right there, Roger.
Yeah, this is kind of a multifaceted question.
I'm ready. I'll get my notebook out.
So, like with Microsoft always talking about cloud computing and everything and pushing that, and now Square Enix comes out and says that they're going to start doing some cloud computing. Do you see developers and publishers maybe going this route as well?
Absolutely. In fact, one of the things I firmly believe, though I've never had this confirmed nor denied by anybody at Sony, the entire point of the PlayStation Now service is simply to beta test their cloud service. To get an idea of how it's going to work and whether or not American internet is strong enough to hold it and whether or not Japanese internet is strong enough to do it. And it's not. The answer is not. You really, really need to wake up and pay attention to what's happening with net neutrality because it's about to get worse. But man, I'm preaching. Holy crap, am I preaching? I'm listening to myself and I'm like, man. Cloud computing is absolutely the way of the future. And Major Nelson sat in my living room and he said, that the Xbox One is 4K ready when it comes to cloud gaming, and that by the time 4K televisions are around, we will be able to stream. So I think in their hearts, the reason they did not put as high of a hardware into the systems that they in the consoles than the way they put is they're banking on cloud gaming as the future. That's just what we're going to do. We're going to be streaming to your television and running the best graphics that we can possibly run. Whether or not that's a viable option, I don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see. But PlayStation Now is really frustrating. If you haven't tried the beta, it's really frustrating. Yellow shirt.
After E3 and their various Nintendo Directs, what or how do you feel about the Wii U's future? Are you looking forward to any of the titles coming out?
Man, it has been a roller coaster ride, hasn't it?
Yes, it
Because
has.
I bought my Wii U, and the day I pre-ordered it, and the day it shipped, I was so excited, and then I felt really sad for a really long time. And then one of the executives came out and said that he will not rest until we have felt satisfied with our purchase. And then I got real happy again. And after playing the Smash demo on my 3DS, I think the Wii U version is going to be phenomenal. It's going to sell some consoles, and it's going to put that device on the map in this generation. And I think the big question this Christmas is actually going to be, which of the 3 consoles should you buy? And I'm really, really happy about that. Because like I think everybody in this room, I've been waiting for Nintendo to get back on the map. And it's so frustrating as a YouTuber because all I want to do is promote Nintendo, and all they want me to do is shut up. And it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. If you guys watch my channel regularly, you know that I've had a few choice things to say about Nintendo. It doesn't. I mean, I have not gone anywhere in 3 years without this in my pocket. Or well, I guess a year and a half with this version. But I love the company. I just wanted to see. Do you have a follow-up?
The NFC that's on the tablets, I saw it once on Pokemon Rumble U. What do you think the amiibos that are coming out that are going to take advantage of it? It's been since release.
I'm worried a little bit in that there's several different ways it can be played off. And if they're played off in the way that I'm hoping they're going to be played off, they're going to be awesome. And I'm just always going to be optimistic. I'm always going to hold judgment until I have it in my hands and I know exactly what I'm talking about. But at this moment, I'm optimistic because Nintendo very rarely does wrong. And I'm hoping that they won't do wrong here. All the way to back.
Well, I hear that you're an avid Magic the Gathering player.
Absolutely.
What did I do to get you to play me in a game of Magic?
Well, because I didn't bring one with me. And wait until this is over, and I will destroy you with whatever crappy deck can do. You're going down over there, you're going down. Right here on the side.
What do you think of the new Nintendo 3DS?
I am really upset that they went ahead and purchased new hardware. I'm upset that I have to buy my 3DS again. But what upsets me more than anything is it's not available yet, and I really want one. It fixes a lot of the problems. I have trouble with the 3DS a little bit because I can't really focus on the 3D that well. I wanted the C-Stick for a really long time. I refused to buy the stupid add-on that makes your 3DS look like it's dumb. And, so yeah, I'm excited about it. But you really can't blame them because they sold, what is it, 35 million units?
Yeah.
So yeah, if you can sell that many again, you'd be stupid not to.
Aren't you worried about like hardware fragmentation?
I'm worried about it in the extent that they've already announced one game that only works on the device. But then I also lived through the Game Boy, then Game Boy Color, then Game Boy Advance, then Game Boy, Super Game Boy, Extra Game Boy Delight. So I lived through that era, and we survived, we'll survive through this. And to be honest with you, if that's the shadiest Nintendo gets, it's not even remotely as shady as the rest of the industry right now. So good guy Nintendo being the worst you've ever been, while also being the example that everyone should follow, you know? Let's go in the back over here, all the way in the back, I think. The gentleman with the purple hat, or lady with the purple hat?
I mean, piggybacking off of the whole thing with the 3DS, I mean, isn't it kind of weird that they're coming out with a whole new handheld when tablets and stuff are starting to really take over the handheld market?
No, because I have a tablet and I have a 3DS, and only one of those is with me right now.
I mean, I feel like because the 3DS came out, like, when tablets and stuff were still kind of gaining momentum, that the new 3DS won't sell as well, because not many people would really want another handheld.
I'm curious just to see that, if that turns out to be the truth. I'll wait to reserve judgment and I'll be optimistic. But I gotta say, Nintendo has always had a way of just defying what the market suggests. They always tend to tap into our hearts, man. And who doesn't want tradable plates in the front of their 3DS? I mean, I'm gonna rebuy just for that.
I'm getting it for Xenoblade.
Right, and no one is ever going to. Nintendo games will never end up on your tablet. And if there's a god, any of them, I don't really care which one, we will never have freemium Nintendo games. I will punch somebody. White shirt right there? Yeah.
To continue the 3DS talk, is your Wi-Fi on? I'm trying to get a street pass from you.
Yes, just need to get a little closer.
Okay.
Yes, it's green. It's green. So many street passes. Let's see. How about shirt right there? White shirt right there.
Going back to the quality of gaming and stuff, how it's kind of diminished ever since really it's a game that, like you mentioned earlier, The Last of Us, kind of the developers said the reason why they wanted to make that so different is because they wanted to redefine the genre and try to put quality back in the game without rehashing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope they don't rehash it besides the remastered. I really hope they don't make a sequel or anything as much as people want. I feel like it's just good to leave it alone as it is because that kind of.
I talked to the guys at Naughty Dog one time, and I talked to them about being wary of a sequel, and they implied that if they were to make a sequel, it would be a completely different storyline built in the same universe, and I think I'd be okay with that. Would you be okay with that? But absolutely, Last of Us, is a game of a generation, now 2 generations, and it was my favorite of the entire last console generation, and is going to be in the top of this one. The remake on this phenomenal Photo Moon. If you haven't played it, it's phenomenal. But I play games differently, I think, than a lot of other people because I am very story heavy. Story is the most important aspect of the game to me. And when I was a kid, I played all the basic functions. As a retro player who grew up on the stuff, I played all the basic game functions there are. I get the idea of shooting stuff, I get the idea of solving stuff, I get the idea of RPGs, I know how to do all of that. And so if there's not a story to tie it all together, it won't speak to my heart and I can't play it. Last of Us made me cry in the first 15 minutes of that game, and the end of that game killed a part of me. I'll never be the same after playing that game. So I bought the remake, and I sat down to play it, and I got 15 minutes in, and it's been a year. I got 15 minutes in, and I set the controller arm down and went, I'm just not ready. I can't go through this again. Not so soon.
I started thinking, oh, it's going to be like Uncharted, it's going to be all fun. First 15 minutes, boom, it's like, oh.
Yeah, this game is not fun. This game is not fun. All the way to the back.
So, what is the angriest you've ever been in a game, as yourself and as Francis?
Oh, jeez. Okay. To answer that question, you have to fully understand that as much as I like Francis as a character that lets me get away with making fun of some of the stereotypes of gaming, and as much as it's a character in that it allows me to say things that I wouldn't normally say, it is very much a large portion of who and what I am as a person. It's the frustrated, angry part of me. So the answer to the question is easily, it's the same game in reality, and that's Super Meat Boy. Why is that game like that? I could not make it 5 levels into that game, I think, until I was just done forever with video games. I took a week break. And I did smash a controller that I purchased exclusively. I tried playing Super Meat Boy with a keyboard on PC. Don't try that. Or even think about trying that. Ever. So I bought a controller, had it for a day, and ruined it during a live stream of Super Meat Boy.
I thought you were real good at Super Meat Boy.
Do it?
I thought you were real good at Super Meat Boy.
Oh, no. That's one of the things that you'll have to learn about me is I'm not good at video games. And I just really like them. So I am always going to be bad at them, and I realize that. Same way when I play the guy at Magic, he's going to beat me. It's still fun to trash talk. All right, now all the way to the back right there.
I'll start stuff for the game, but I can't say how happy I was because all of us do want to see you that you teamed up with DDP Yoga.
Oh yeah.
Getting that, man, more power to you.
I appreciate it.
You got a whole room of optimism that is wanting you to beat that.
I appreciate that. I just want to say that Diamond Dallas Page is an actual hero. And I very rarely in my life have I ever got to meet somebody. Anybody familiar with Diamond Dallas Page is either the wrestler or the yogi. That gentleman is an actual hero. And I got to tell you something. He has dedicated this part of his life to actually saving lives. And he's done the best that he could in saving mine. And with him, I've learned something that I could definitely lose some of this weight, that I can get in better shape, I can be pain-free. And you know, it's so funny because I've often said no one will ever be able to teach me that, but it's like nobody understands what it's like to live in the pain that my body's in because of how heavy I am. Well, one day he just lifted up his shirt and he showed me that he had 3 ice packs taped to his back at all times because it's just how much pain he's in. If I can do it, Boogie, you can do it. And well, it changes you. It changes you as a person. So thanks, I appreciate that. Let's try them right there, straight down the middle.
What are your thoughts on Flappy Bird?
Flappy Bird is a really interesting phenomenon, and whereas I would say I don't love PewDiePie, I do respect him for what and who he is and owning it, and I think that's awesome. He is the reason Flappy Bird became a thing, and so someone who studies hype in gaming and the way that games viral out and what makes a good game popular and what creates hype and all of this stuff, Flappy Birds was a phenomenal thing to study. And it was also a game that made me throw my iPad across the room. Why did I have it on iPad out of all the places? Why is that game? And I hate it. I just hate it so much. and it's still on my phone, and I'm still playing it to this day when I want to see if my heart is ready for a heart attack. I'm up to 39. I hate myself. Who else? Right here.
What's your opinion of Tamagotchi?
Oh, I loved that game. That was the weirdest game. And Tamagotchi Life, who's played that? Why? That game is so weird. And at some point, I'm watching my character, because they put Boogie and Francis as neighbors. Why? That's awesome. And at one point, they're having a party with Batman and Samuel Jackson. And they're just all in a room, and they're all lying on the floor, and they're blowing snot bubbles. And I'm like, this is the stuff I've been waiting for. This is how you use the latest technology to do stuff no one's ever thought of. And that, I guarantee you, no one had ever thought of. That was phenomenal. It's a fun game.
He also made a character of you.
Awesome. Well, you have to show me this after that. I'd love to see that. How about right there?
Capcom or Sega, which has done more of a 380 in the last few decades? And also, do you think Mega Man Legend 3 will ever happen?
I genuinely believe that for whatever reason, Capcom hates Mega Man. And the fact that he ended up in the new Smash and is also playable in the demo is the best thing to happen to that franchise in a long time. It took Nintendo to do something good with one of my favorite franchises. Why is that? I love Capcom as a company, and I love some of their games. Dead Rising 3 was really fun. It was really awful, but also really fun. Sega has just lost their minds, though. Am I wrong here? Like, I don't even recognize them as a company anymore. And I guess that happens when you get bought and sold and you fall apart so many times, but it's still not as bad as what's happened to Square Enix. Am I wrong here? Because if you have an iPhone or you have an iPad, have you looked at their mobile games?
Give me Kingdom Hearts.
Well, have you seen, there's a new one out. I think it's a match 3 game in which you make slushies. Why is Square Enix making that? I don't know. But yeah, that's some of the most disappointing stuff that I have to live with every day, and I don't want to live with it anymore. I just want to damn. Yellow shirt. 5 minutes. We got 5 minutes, so let's go quick. Let's do lightning round. Ready? Go.
How long did it take you to finish it?
Which?
Silent Hills.
It took me about 45 minutes. And that was with people helping me because I'm dumb. And it was also terrifying. We played it through a second time with a group of friends, and when Lisa comes, I don't want to spoil anything for anyone, but when Lisa shows up for the very first time, I thought 3 of us was going to die of a heart attack. And have you seen the new trailer for that game? Because, oh my God. Right there, glasses. Thank you.
How do you think collector's editions have been lasting?
I have been buying a lot of collector's editions. One of the things that is most disappointing in it is to see exclusive content, because I think every gamer, no matter what their budget, should be allowed to have access to the full version of the game, and that's super frustrating. I like statues and stuff. I like stuff that I can actually show, that I can collect, that I can show my friends, like, hey, I bought freaking Titanfall. Now that statue is actually kind of an embarrassment, because I bought Titanfall, but I don't know what to do with this giant piece of plastic. But at least it's more fun than the game. But yes, I thought the whole point of collector's editions was collectibles. Please put more collectibles in. Right here. Yep, right there.
Can you sign my copy of Destiny?
Absolutely. Right here.
Have you unsubscribed from World of Warcraft yet?
I have not played World of Warcraft for 4 years, and a lot of people get really mad when they hear that. But I unsubscribed right after we downed the Lich King for the first time, and dropped tank loot, and I refused it, even though I was main tanking for a guild at the time, because that was all I ever needed to do. I played Warcraft 3, I started to hate Arthas, finally I got to kill Arthas, I was done, I could walk away. But I'm one of those people that can only play World of Warcraft one of 2 ways. Either I play it 100% or I play it 0%. I can't half-ass that game, it's very frustrating. So I walked away, but then Warlords and Draenor started sucking me back in, and I know it right there.
If you had a $500 million budget to make any game, who would you have develop that game? And you can't choose Bungie because we saw what they did.
This is not a lightning round question. I would have me develop it, and it would be Flappy Bird, and I would keep the money. Oh yeah. I will answer that question, but I can't answer it here because wow, that's a lot. Right there.
What's your opinion of Mario Kart 8, and how do you think it holds up to other games?
I think Mario Kart 8 is phenomenal, and I think it's one of the better games for the Wii U, and I absolutely loved playing it. It's disappointing to see Nintendo get into the DLC game, but they have done such a good job with it that once again, this is the worst thing Nintendo's ever done. But who here actually minds it when Nintendo does DLC because they do it right? Am I wrong? But loving that franchise, loving it, so glad to see it on the Wii U. All the way back right there, picture.
What do you think of YouTube 60 FPS? Do you think this gen is going to
What do I think?
Do you think this gen is going to be shorter than last gen?
I can barely hear you. I heard 60 FPS, and I'll tell you this. I think it's really sad that YouTube now runs faster than my consoles. Why is a YouTube video more appealing to my eye than what my Xbox One and PlayStation 4 can put out? Wow. Blonde hair.
Sorry. Who are you going to main in the new Smash Bros? Now that you've seen the whole roster, who's your main?
That's an easy question. You should know this by now if you know me, because it's going to be Pac-Man, and let me explain to you why. Because Pac-Man is also round. He also eats all the time. He also is chased by ghosts in his past, and he's also addicted to pills. Oh wait. Not supposed to say this part. That's it, guys. That's it. I want to thank you guys for this. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much.